Hey guys, this is Dr. Callahan for Algebra 2 Semester 2 for week 11, Monday. Welcome back from spring break. Let's go ahead and take a look to see where you guys are in terms of the remaining parts of the school year. So today is the 28th. This is also week 11, so week 11, Monday. Next week is going to be week 12, and then 13, 14. Week 14, Monday, is a professional development day, so you don't need to go to school on week 14 Monday, which is the 18th of April. Then after that, you have week 15, then 16, 17, 18, 19. Week 20, which is the 30th of May, is Memorial Day. So that's a holiday. So that's the day to kick off the summer. But you need to pace yourself because there's not a lot of holidays in between the next 2 months. And so just kind of pace yourself, get your motivation, keep on going with that. And then after week 20 is 21, and that is your week of finals. Your last day of school is June 8th. Or actually, I'm sorry, your last day of school is June 7th. June 8th is a work day for us. And so that Tuesday is your last day. Once I get the final schedule, I'll let you guys see. I'll post it on MS Teams so you know exactly what it looks like. But your final most likely will start on week 20 and then on week 21. So that's kind of where we are. Just putting things into perspective, make sure you guys have a 75% safety grade because your final is 15%. And the reason why you want to do that is in case you fail the final, 75 minus 15 is still a 60%. So you can still pass, thank you, with a D. Now, on the other hand, if you do not pass the class with a 60% or better, what's going to happen next year, your senior year, is you're going to take your first math class, which, it could be Algebra 3, it could be Prop and Stats, whatever, but then you also have to take or retake Algebra 2, so you have 2 math classes, okay? So I don't really think you have to be super good at math to pass this class. You just have to do the work and turn things in. Like, for example, your warm-up log. So if you did not take out your warm-up log today, make sure you guys do that because I just simply give you guys a check plus every day. If you go ahead and complete it, it is due on week 19 Friday. So in another 8 more weeks, and then it's worth 300 points. Okay, so make sure you guys are doing that. And also, you guys have your guided notes that you need to turn in with the packet, and also the activities I guys have you guys do. And again, you don't have to get the answers correct, but you have to attempt it and try, in order to get your check plus every day. All right, so with that said, take out your cell phones, please, and go to that QR code. Don't type anything just yet, but just go to that platform and then I'll let you guys know what we're doing with that. Okay, so I found this article of the most popular places that students want to go to or move to after college. And generally, most people say, oh, it's probably going to be LA, which is a very popular place for people to go, or maybe New York City. But this one city actually beat out both of those other previous cities as the most popular place for people to move to after college for young people. This place is always cloudy, housing is very expensive, and yet most college graduate wants to move here. Does anybody know where it is? Any guesses? Where do you think is very cloudy as a city? Where? New York. It's not New York and it's not LA. Those are the top 2 for the last 2 years. Seattle, it is. So this one city has beaten out New York City and Los Angeles as the most desirable destination for graduates fresh out of college, and it is Seattle, Washington. And this was published by Axios last week. Which tracks the U.S. rising trends of work culture through geographic preferences. And it's definitely among the cloudiest major city in the U.S. It's been ranked among the most gloomiest cities. And the rent and the cost of living is about 56% higher than the national average. Its housing market is like super brutal. It was expensive before the pandemic, but when I say brutal, it's like literally home buyers are paying over $300,000 or $500,000 over the asking price. So that's not even the price, that's over the asking price. And in some cases, nearly $1 million over the asking price. But college grads are overlooking those challenges. They're drawing themselves to the Emerald City. It's known as a superstar tech hub status for its cool climate, its focus on green energy, its music and art scene. It feels like a young person city, says this one computer science major who is a senior at James Madison University in Virginia. And he's planning on moving to Seattle. And yeah, and it's interesting with with political parties, Seattle drew the most bipartisan appeal as it is the most appealing for independents. A lot of students who identify as Republicans had eyes for Austin, Texas. Others who are Democrats want to move to New York. So overall, Seattle is ranked as most desirable colleges. They beat it out New York City, which is in second spot, and Los Angeles, which is in the third spot. The fourth spot is Denver, Colorado. Then you have Boston, Massachusetts, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, Arizona, which I thought was interesting because I was like, really, out of college, you want to go to Phoenix? San Francisco, Portland, Minneapolis, Dallas, and then Atlanta, Georgia. And if you have not been to Atlanta before, I would move to Atlanta. It's a pretty cool place. Have great food, really nice people, amazing culture, lots of diversity there. So yeah, so those are your top 15 most likely cities that people will move to after college. So then I'm gonna revert you guys back over to this right here. So my question for you is, one, give me your name. After reading the article, which state would you like to live in after college or high school? Number two, what did you do over spring break? Number three, what is spring to you? And number four, what do you hope to accomplish in the fourth quarter? So go ahead and do that. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and move on. So what did you guys do last class before spring break? We finished the Simplifying Radical, the worksheet that looks like this right here. You guys completed this in class, and we talked about how to get rid of the conjugates for the radicals. So I'm going to actually open up your homework for this week on Math Excel. And if you're like, how do you get onto Math Excel? I'm not quite sure. Let me show you. You just type in Washoe County School District, Math Excel. Once you're there, you go to the first one that pops up, sign in. It's the same as your school desktop ID. And then you go to Algebra 2. Make sure you go to Math Excel, not Envision. So it's the second one there. And then once you're in it, you should be able to see all your assignments for this class. And I want to make sure that I assign you guys the one for week 11. Radical equations. And so this is it. So week 11, Algebra 2, Semester 2, graphing radical functions. And you guys have, let me just go ahead and change this a little bit. So you guys have 10 questions right here, and it is going to be due on Sunday at 11 p.m. You guys have 3 attempts for each of the questions. Save and assign. So you'll have that there. But in addition to that, I'm going to go ahead and reopen your week 10 assignment. So your week 10 assignment will be graded this week, and you guys will have until the end of the semester, which is 6. Let's see, what did I do before that? 6. Let's do 6-3. Yeah, that sounds good. Fine. And then also you guys had your quiz on week 10 Wednesday, and I'll go ahead and reassign that one as well. So you have until 6/3/2022. It will be late. There'll be a slight penalty, but a slight penalty is still better than getting just a 50% on it. All right, so that is done. Now let's go back to this. All right, so as you guys know, all the videos are recorded. So this is your YouTube channel for Algebra 2. And let's see how many videos you guys have there. So any of the days that you miss, there are 46 videos that's available. So if you miss any of the assignments, I have everything right here ready to go for you guys. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next part. So this is kind of what we're looking at. We have already done rewriting rational expressions. We've done with complex problem involving radicals. Today, we're going to actually start right over here as a review and then eventually go on to graphing special characteristics of radical functions. So today, we're supposed to be starting with graphing, but given the fact that it's our first day back, I want to do a quick little review because I'm sure some of you guys forgot about it. So this is your week 11 Monday's material. We're going to talk about complex radical review. You need to get a worksheet from me, and that's all that you need. And that worksheet can turn in before you guys do today. So come on up and grab this, please. All right, so we're gonna have two different puzzles that I want you guys to solve. We're gonna start off with the first one. I'll go over a few questions and I'm gonna have you guys maybe pick a few questions to do on your own. So it says, what do you get when you cross a thief with a cement truck and a supermarket with a jungle? So we're gonna go ahead and solve that puzzle. So let's start off with the right side. And so if you take a look at the right side, we're gonna look at the first 5 questions. I'm gonna go over 2 of them with you, and I'm gonna have you guys go over the 3 by yourself. Okay, so let's start off with the first one, and let's do maybe, let's do number 2. Okay, so for number 2, you have 7 plus the square root of 3 times 7 minus the square root of 3. Remember with this one, you have to do FOIL, F-O-I-L. So F stands for first. So the 2 numbers that are first are 7 times 7. So that's going to be 49. O stands for out. So what are the numbers on the outside? 7 and negative, excuse me, 7 and square root of negative 3, or negative 3 square root. So that's a negative 3 or negative 7 square root 3 for outside. And then, of course, you guys have the inside. So the inside are the 2 numbers on the inside right there. So that's I. And that's going to give you a positive 7 square root of 3. And then your last are the numbers of the last. So what's square root of 3 times square root of 3? You know 3 times 3 is a 9. So what's a square root of 9? Back to a 3. Now take a look at the outside and the inside. What do you guys notice with those 2 numbers? They're exactly the same. And you can just cross them out because they cancel. If you're still on your cell phone, you're not writing it down, I'm going to highly encourage you to maybe change your habit and modify it. So that way you at least can turn this in with the points that you need to pass. And so then you're left with basically the 49 and then the 3. So 49 and 3. And it's a minus 3 because remember the negative and a positive gives you a negative. So what's 49 minus 3? 46. You got it. And look at the answers. Which one here has 46? E as an elephant. So what does that mean? That means for number 2, you put E as an elephant. And that is your first part of your puzzle. Anywhere you see a 2, put down E. All right, so then I'm gonna go over one more with you guys. Let's do number 4, okay? So number 4 looks a little bit complicated. So for number 4, you're gonna set it up so that way you have square root of 10 minus a square root of 6 times square root of 10 plus a square root of 6. And then you're gonna do FOIL. You have a dry erase marker on your desk. You're welcome to use a dry erase marker, or you can go ahead and use a paper, pencil, whatever works for you. Okay, so looking at this right here, first is gonna be square root of 10 times square root of 10. That's just gonna be 10. Outside is gonna give you a square root of 6 times 10, so that's gonna be a 60. And if you think about 60, you guys, can you break it down to something like, what can I divide in there to have a perfect square root? So I'm just gonna use my calculator right here. So I'm gonna do 60 divided by 2, which gives me a 30. Divided by 2 again gives me a 15. Okay, so then I know 2 times 2 times 15 gives me 16. Okay, so 2 times 2 times 15 gives me 60. And you have 2 of a kind right here. There's 2 2s. So that gives you a 2 square root 15, like that. Then you want to take a look at the inside. So inside is right there. So that's also negative square root of 60. And then last is just going to give you a negative 6. One thing you should notice is that your positive 60 and negative square root of 60 is just going to cancel. So cross that out. And then you have 10 minus 6, which is a 4. And what does that match exactly? I don't know about you, but it matches the letter K. You guys see that? So anytime you have a 4, you're going to put down the letter K. So K goes right there, and I think that's the only one. Now that I did number 2 and 4, I want you guys to do number 1, 3, and 5 on your desk with your dry erase marker, or you can go ahead and use your paper and pencil. I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes, and then we'll reconvene. So I'm going to start off with the next 5 sets. And so with this one, you don't have 2 parentheses, you just have the number in front. So you just take that and multiply it in like that. So just a simple distributive property. But you gotta be careful with the square roots. So 2 times 7 is a 14. 5 times 3 stays inside the square root, which is a 15. Minus 2 times the 1 is just a 2. 5 times 10 inside the square root is gonna give you a square root of 50. Now, you guys know that square root of 50, you can probably break that down to a square root of 25 and a 2, right? Well, square root of 25 is just a 5. So then when you multiply that 2 with a 5, it's a negative 10 square root 2. But then don't forget your first part, which is 14 square root 15. And that is as simplified as I get. So which one does it match? The letter L. So on 10, we're just gonna put L. All right, I'm also gonna go over another one with you guys, and let's go ahead and do number 8. For number 8, you see that there's a square right there. It just means you need to rewrite it twice, like that. And once you have that, you just do FOIL, so FOIL. First is 9 times 9, which is 81. O stands for outside, so that's 9 square root 7. Inside is a positive 9 square root 7. And then your last is just going to be 7. Now, this one's a little bit different than the previous one because when you look at the outside and the inside, notice that they're both positive. If they're both positive, you can add them. So 9 plus 9 is an 18 square root 7, so they don't cancel. 81 plus 7 is an 88. So which one does that match? I think that matches letter U. So 8 is U. So anywhere you see an 8, you're going to put a U on top of it. Now that I went over these two questions, I want you guys to work on 6, 7, and 9 on your own. Okay, so go ahead and solve that puzzle. We'll finish the last 5 questions here. So if you take a look at 11 through 15, these are the ones right here, and I'm going to go ahead and do one of the questions with you guys. I think I'm just going to try number 15 because that's the hardest one. So let's do that. So I like to just rewrite it. So I have 3 square root 10 minus 5 square root 2 times 2 square root 10 plus 6 square root 2. Okay. And you don't have to rewrite it if you already have it. That's fine too. So I'm going to set it up FOIL, so FOIL. First is going to be 3 times 2, which is a 6. 10 times 10 in the square root is just going to cancel each other out. So 6 times 10 is 60. You just have to be careful with what you're multiplying. Then you have outside. Outside is 3 times 6, which is 18. And then inside the square root, 10 times 2 is a square root of 20. But you know with a square root of 20, you can break that down, right? Because another way of writing square root of 20 is square root of 4 times 5. That 4 is going to give you a 2 outside of the square root. So what's 2 times 18? 36 square root 5. So you have to be able to translate it back and forth. I stands for inside. Inside is a negative 5 times 2, so that's a negative 10. Inside the square root is a 2 times 10, which is a 20. And you guys know what we did with this. We just did a negative 10 times a 4 times 5, which is a 2 times negative 10. So that's a negative 20 square root 5. And then your L stands for last. So negative 5 times 6 is a negative 30. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is just going to be a 2 without the square root because it's freed. And then when you multiply it, it's a negative 60. This is an interesting question because if you look at it, first and last, you see the plus and the minus, that's just gone. 60 minus 60, canceled, gone. But then you look at the outside, inside, and it's 36 minus 20. They both have a square root of 5, so you can subtract. 30 minus 20 is a 16 square root 5. And so that matches the letter I as an igloo. Do you see that? And so anywhere you have a 15, you put an I. And I think that's the only one. Oh, there's another one down here. Just kidding. There we go. Okay, I'm going to give you guys about 5-6 minutes. Go ahead and work on numbers 11 to 14 on your own and finish up that puzzle. On. We're going to go over to the left side of this and go ahead and take a look at this. And it says, what happened to the passengers when one red ship collided with a blue ship? All right, so the other one that we just did, this was on multiplying and obviously on FOIL and distributive, okay? The one on the left is on adding and subtracting. So this is kind of like the culmination of everything. And so let's take a look at the first part here. We can start off with something a little bit more simple, like let's do number 3, for example. If you take a look at number 3, you have a -2 plus square root of 9 or -9. Now you got to remember that whenever you have a -1, that's equal to the letter I, which is an imaginary number. Okay, so with that, what you can do is just put 9I, which is the same thing as square root of -9. Okay, and then what you do is you separate them. So square root of 9, square root of I, like that. Square root of 9 is just a 3. I just stays inside that square root. Okay, and if you ever try to like put in a negative number in your TI-84 calculator, like for example, this is mine right here. If you do second square root and you put negative, any negative number like -9, for example, what happens to it? Do you see how it has like error? It's a non-real number. And so the reason for that is you can't have a negative inside the square root. So to combat that, we just put an I. So then looking at this, which one does this match? And so this is just -2 plus 3I. And it matches T. So for number 3, we're just gonna put T as in Tom. All right, let's try another one. Let's take a look at number 4. For number 4, you have a -4 square root of a -27. And again, you don't want to have that negative there, so you got to rewrite it to -4 times the square root of 27I. Okay, so we don't have the negative inside it anymore. And then you know the square root of 27 is the same thing as 9 times 3. And you know that 9 just gives you a perfect 3, right? Because the square root of 9 is 3. So then don't forget to multiply that 3 by that -4, which is a -12. Square root of 3. And then don't forget your I. So then which one does that match? So for 4, I think it matches W. So yeah, as in watermelon. So 4, we're just gonna put W. Now let's try some of the other ones. Like for example, let's try number 9. For number 9, notice how there's a plus sign in between them. So you're just gonna add it. So 4 plus -6, that's just a -2. And then you have the square root of -25. So for that one, remember, it's just gonna be a 5I. And then you have the square root of -9. So that's -3I. So what's 5 minus 3? Doesn't that give me a 2I? Yeah, it does. So then which one does that match? O as an octopus. So for number 9, we're going to put O as an octopus. For the last 5 minutes of class, you guys can go ahead and pick any questions you want here to finish as much as you possibly can. And then we're just gonna have you guys turn it in before you guys leave today. And for those of you guys with me on Zoom, your very last thing that I want you guys to do is take a look at this part right here. Go ahead and use the QR code or the link on top to go ahead and answer the following 3 questions. And it's just a simple little post-it. So you just go ahead and click on the little post-it right here and then answer the 3 questions. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. Take care.